Mayor and other friends joining remotely.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
For those of you who may be wondering why the mayor is joining from his office, it is because he is not feeling well and does not want to spread it to us.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you.
Yes, that's right. As the days gone on, I've gotten a little bit of, I don't think I have a bad cold, but a little bit of a cold, and so I've asked Catherine to chair this. I intend to vote and participate though remotely.
Excellent. I am going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:05. We have all members of the board here. I do not see Councillor, except for Councillor Hightower, but we do have a quorum, and I suspect she'll be along shortly. The first item on the agenda is the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, President Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Jang. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public forum. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? I do have someone who has called in. I am going to enable your microphone. It appears you're muted. Once you unmute yourself, you will be able to talk.
Hi, this is Sharon Busher. The link on the agenda wasn't highlighted, and when I tried to go in under the internet, I got a bizarre link to some wildlife event. Anyways, I'm calling tonight to speak about a couple of items on your agenda. The first one has to do with public access and their budget that they're proposing. And I wanted to highlight the hybrid method that is currently being used by not all, but most of the meetings that occur in the city. And I noticed that in their budget, that when you adopted that, you had, entailing their support, it was for a period of 3 years. And I was just hoping that the administration and the council would consider the value of this for increased participation, and wondered if potentially you would consider continuing with that. I think it's up after this year, after 2023. So I'm just hoping that you will, reflect on the value of hybrid. I know it is a pain in the tush, but I think it has been really nice for me and for other people. And I think the goal is increased participation. So thank you. The second thing, so there are three things. The second thing is the Leddy Beach Access Project. And that has to do with the budget that they're asking to transfer money from that project now. And what I would like to have as part of your consideration is my understanding of there are obstacles, and that's why this is stagnated, and that's why there's an opportunity to repurpose this funding. But because accessibility is so important, and I saw that at North Beach, I was just hoping that in your discussion you would continue to keep this alive by asking Parks and Rec to at least report back to the Board of Finance on some kind of schedule so it wouldn't get lost, because I'm hoping that access in some form can occur for people just like it can at North Beach. So that's the second thing. And the last thing had to do with the TIF, which you're going to discuss. And when I read through that, I just wondered how much lower the tax revenue was due to the errors. I feel that there were mistakes made. There were challenges for the city. I was on the council and Board of Finance during that time and was aware of the challenges, and we tried to address them as best we could, but it took resources and time, and I'm not pointing fingers. I just would like to know just if we have an idea of how much lower the tax revenue was due to these errors. And I applaud you for addressing this, for being upfront and working to make it better. And you had already started before the auditor came out with the report. So for Catherine, I just thank you for your due diligence, and also for the Board of Finance and the mayor. So thank you again.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? And with that, we will close the public forum. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? We have several meeting minutes there.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor McGee. Is there a second? Thank you, Councillor Jang. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. And that brings us to our next item, which is the town meeting update from last year. And the first of what I'm sure will be many budget requests for FY24.
From us?
No,
Only from
no,
us.
no.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from my, there's only one from you. Just there's a lot of people who want FY24 money, but you're the first one
Oh,
that we get to hear from.
Oh,
So
great. So welcome, I'm Megan O'Rourke. I'm with CCTV, and I'm here with Jordan Mitchell, who is taking over directorship of Town Meeting Television. And so we'll be presenting to you in the future, and is here to give you a little update on Town Meeting TV. Can you hear me on there? Because I speak kind of quietly, and I know we talked about how you need more mics in this room anyway. So really the big highlight is that there are 3 asks. One is the general operating support of Town Meeting Television, which has been ongoing to offset cable revenue declines or the overall operational support. The other is the 15,000, and we increased that by 16%. That's half of the actual cost of services for the neighborhood planning assemblies. And I will note that we actually have now, since Ward 1 and Ward 8 have split and are meeting separately, we now have 6 meetings a month that we're covering of those neighborhood planning assemblies. And we are doing those as hybrid meetings. So we are supporting those. We have set a camera, we support the NPAs to live stream those and give them some support to make those meetings accessible in a hybrid fashion. And it is of note that folks are using that and pretty good numbers and appreciate that. And so that is something that we will want to discuss for future budgets to bring that in line with the actual costs. And then the last is what we call the CCTV productions, which is additional Burlington municipal meeting coverage, that 40,000, which you increased last year, and we didn't ask for an increase this year, mindful of the budget crunches that everyone is facing. So that's just, I'm going to leave it there with a highlight and let Jordan Mitchell take us through just an overview. I think you're all familiar with Town Meeting TV, but it's helpful for us to say it again.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar, Town Meeting TV, we're one of the public access stations here in Burlington. We cover not only Burlington, but other towns in Chittenden County. And primarily we're government access, little g government, but we also cover other community events and things like that. Specifically right now, a lot in 2022 was election year, big election. So we had Town Meeting Day, as well as the general election, where we were covering different events in that way, and then also your general community events that go on. Other things we cover, as well as other municipal meetings, other than say Board of Finance and City Council. Also other meetings that are Burlington.
Say also in one of the processes that Jordan led us through in the last year was really firming up our archival resources, making sure that what we are doing with the archives, both going back to pre-town meeting TV. Town meeting TV was begun in 1990. So we have the CCTV archives, and then we have all of the town meeting archives. And that's making sure that community members can access meetings and events, press conferences, gavel to gavel coverage on the website in what we call a perpetuity, which, you know, we don't know what that looks like, but it means into the future. So that archival resource. And also, when we talk about small G government access, we just want to remind you that, you know, we are doing work to make sure folks can access these meetings, like Sharon referenced in the hybrid meeting support, also some outreach, marketing. We excerpt when we have a mayoral update or councilor updates during the city council, we will excerpt those and share those around the community. So we see ourselves as a partner in outreach. And I'll leave it at that if there are any questions.
Excellent. We are not asking for any action tonight. This is an update, but we will, with your guidance, be factoring this in as I am planning the FY24 budget. Again, just the one ask from CCTV. Of course, we're balancing that with our other asks. But because they're such an important partner, we do always like to make sure we have a visit from them at least once or twice a year. Any questions or comments for Megan or Jordan?
And other than, yes,
Yes, Councillor Jay. I was just
Yes.
about to let him off the hook.
yes. Other than, really, thank you so much, CCTV, for connecting all the communities of Belmont. All that you do is much appreciated. Just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. I feel like I have one of the best jobs in the city, so.
That's awesome. I just like to say that from my perspective as well. I know what Sharon said is true. I appreciated it. It is a little bit of a pain from the administration's perspective to make the hybrid meetings happen, but they are here to stay. I can't imagine that going anywhere. And we would never be able to do it without you guys as our partners. And you've been amazing as a partner. So thank you. We look
Yeah.
forward to continuing the relationship.
Yeah, and Sharon, if you're still on listening, I would love to hear from you where you saw the 3 years, because call me up and we'll talk about that.
Jen, she is still listening.
Yeah,
so
great.
yes. Excellent. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor McGee.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you all for the presentation. I think the 3 years, at least when I was reading the memo, I saw something about the technology that was purchased for the hybrid meetings being on a 3-year life cycle. So I wonder if you could
Yeah.
speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so the equipment that the city purchased that we installed and maintained for you upstairs in Contois we consider it a 3-year equipment life cycle, and I think that'll come up. Actually, that's a good question. Is that 2024 or 2025? That's worth looking into so that you could sort of front load that and be thinking about that and wonder if there's any ARPA dollars to support making sure that that's robust. I don't see it as needing to be replaced right away. Everything seems to be working. We just put in a new camera, so there's 4 cameras up there, but it's a good thing to look into. Thanks.
And just so you know, for people who were in the room, I don't know if you heard all of this, but it seems like in Contois, things are working pretty well. But we have gotten feedback from the public that in this room in particular, you know, we have one mic that's I'm kind of pointing to in the center. And there are lots of options. So I was talking to Jordan and Megan before the meeting started about how for a relatively modest investment, we could get such things as multiple microphones, or even ones that are wireless so that your CAO does not trip over this wire when she's trying to set it up. So I think there are some things, it's a very good point to remember that we can't just one and done the equipment. We do need to keep it up.
Yeah.
and tweak along the way.
Yeah, send you some recommendations.
Great. Any final thoughts? All right, well, thank you so much. Our next item is Board of Finance approval only, and it's a great one, accepting grant funds. This time from the Great Lakes Fisheries Program. Cindy, why don't you come give us a little blurb?
Sure.
Tell us about this great money.
Awesome.
Where's it going?
Where's it going exactly? So we're, Tom Berry from what was Leahy's office at the time reached out. They were interested in being able to send some money our way for with the youth programming. And our recreation nutrition program is getting the majority of the funds, having the kids chances to get to the lake, because that was a priority for Leahy is Lake Champlain. But we're also using the opportunity for accessible beach chairs for Oakledge. It's something we offer at North Beach, but now that we've got the accessible access at Oakledge, we'll have chairs there. And then also just ensuring all the families with the recreation nutrition program have access to all of our beach parking areas.
Excellent. How would the board like to proceed? Are we ready for a motion or any more questions? Councilor Jay. I think you might be muted.
Yeah, happy to make the motion as indicated on board. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, President Paul. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations. Yep, you can just say PPRs up here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this Leddy Pause Place public improvements?
So the Leddy Pause Place was designed at the same time as the other pause places that are along the Greenway back in
16, 18,
Okay.
16, I think.
a while ago. Originally, this project was bid out in 2019 twice. It came in over budget. We did not have the funds to move it forward. We have assigned additional funds from Penny for Parks to move it forward, and we are combining it with a stormwater requirement for a bioretention area at Leddy. That's part of our permitting for the Greenway now that most of the rest of the Greenway is completed. We need to construct that this season. So by combining those projects, we're hopefully reducing mobilization costs and other costs from the contractor side and putting it out to bid to see what we get. But we're anticipating that the cost will be beyond what we have budgeted. At the same time, we have a project that is not moving forward at this time, but we have expended part of those funds to address access at Leddy Beach by adding in a new stairs 2 years ago to be able to implement that project. But there's still $112,000 that's left. And so we're asking for reallocation of those bond funds to the Leddy Pause Place to see that project forward, as it is also funded with donations and it hasn't been done yet. Sorry for that long rambling.
And I think getting to Sharon Bush's question as far as with Sophie's in the middle of a comprehensive plan at Leddy Park. And part of what they're looking at, the comprehensive plan is where is the best place to try to achieve accessible access down to the beach. And one of the things that we'll be balancing is the ecology and access, because it is a sharp bank down. So I want to just assure Sharon that she brought that question up, that it is something that we're considering and we're looking at as part of this comprehensive plan that we're in the middle of.
And as part of that, to build on what Cindy just said, when the consultants we're working with identify how that can be done, we will go to the public and ask, how do we proceed? Because it will require an ecological footprint because of the topography, and there's already erosion and other issues along the banks of the Leddy Beach. So we don't want to exacerbate that and really balance what we can do there.
Excellent. How would the board like to proceed? Do you have questions? Yes, President Paul.
Hi, I'm happy to make the motion as recommended. Actually, it's a resolution, I believe, to recommend that the council approve the attached resolution.
Excellent. Counselor McGee.
Second that.
Great. Any further questions or comments? Looks like we're ready for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much. Good luck. On project, you guys can do it. Let's move on to roof structure stabilization at Memorial Auditorium. Samantha, this sounds very exciting. What
Very
can you
exciting.
tell us?
Hi, everybody. I've actually already been here to talk about this, and it's just a need for a contract amendment. The company is ready to get started, but working with our structural engineer realized that there needed to be additional shoring to the floor to allow for their lifts to come in to do that work. So we have to make a contract amendment to cover that cost. It exceeded our contingency costs. With this change, their bid was still the low bid in our process. So I don't think there is any issue with moving forward, but hoping to answer questions and get approval.
Great. Any questions from the board? Seems like a good sign. Would somebody like to move this forward? Councilor McGee.
I'm happy to make the motion as recommended on board docs.
Is there a second? President Paul. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It should be underway at the end of the month.
Great. Item 6.03 is resolution of the waterfront TIF audit items. This is another item that we have spoken about. And I hope that everyone had a chance to look at the memo. I won't go through all of the memo because a lot of that is background that we've spoken about the state of the audit and what the state auditor's office found. But as we discussed a few weeks ago when we talked about the results of that audit, I am here following up on all of the things we've said in public and in the letter that we wrote back. That's a part of the official audit, the management response that explains how we move forward from here, what steps we need to make to do those corrections. There are some of them that do not, that we're able to take on our own. The administration doesn't need Board of Finance or City Council approval. But of course, the big one here is the headline that was the TIF report, and that is transferring almost $1.2 million from the general fund to our TIF Waterfront Fund. And at the beginning of page 2 of the memo, we go through, I list those sources. And the first source is $681,000 from Waterfront Access North sources that were not yet fully drawn down. And the second source is about $41,000 worth of interest at our Vermont Municipal Bond Bank checking account. And then the last piece, and this is obviously where we need Board of Finance approval, is the balance of about $450,000 is coming from the city's unassigned fund balance. It is important to stress, as we have all the way along, that these adjustments will not impact the tax rate and they will not impact city operations. Also, I will not go through all of it again here, but it is important to note that while we're making these important corrections in the clerk treasurer's office, there are a bunch of the long-term steps, and I have listed them under additional city progress made to date, where I list the long-term steps we've made to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Those involve things such as working with our consultant, hiring additional staff, the use of our trustee bank account to fully segregate funds. Mayor, what would you like to add? Anything I forgot?
No, I don't think so. That was a good summary. I think just help you answer any questions if the board has them.
Great. What questions can I answer for people? Yes, Councillor Jay.
Thank you. I have to say, really, thank you so much for both you and the mayor for your diligence in identifying the resources without raising the tax from the taxpayers. I think it speaks volume, right? And also all the basically, prevention, processes that you have put forward as well for this to not happen again. And I was just wondering if there is a way to raise $460,000 from at least the boats that are parking. How do we bring back the $406,000 back to the unassigned fund balance? Is there a way for us, maybe a penny for boat, something like that, to raise it back?
I'm happy to take a shot at that, Catherine. I mean, so I guess the way I would answer that, Councillor Jang, is to say that together through the budgeting process, we will be making decisions about how the upcoming budget year will impact the unassigned fund balance. I guess the way I'm thinking about it is even with this reduction of $450,000, we will still be above 10%, the 10% target, which is the mid-range of our 5 to 15% policy, and is, at least the way the way the policy is written and the way we've talked about it in recent years, that's sort of what we're aiming towards. If this 450,000 was dropping us below 5% or getting us close to 5%, then I think the question, I'd be asking the question exactly as you asked it there, like, how do we get this money back in there? Given that, we're right around, maybe even a little above where our target is, I don't think we need a specific strategy around recovering, around boosting immediately the balance by 450,000. I do expect that we will bring forward a budget that keeps us in approximately that spot for FY24. Maybe, it's possible we'll go a little bit lower than that. We have a challenging budget year coming up. We're trying to get a budget through and without a tax increase. So it's possible there may be justifications for going a little bit lower, but that's the way I would think of it. I hope you find that responsive to your question.
I want to thank my colleagues who have been extremely instrumental in helping me with this. So I want to share your thanks with Richard Hessler, Martha Keenan, and Ashley Parker, especially, who have been very instrumental in this whole audit process. And because CEDO and the Clerk Treasurer's Office are a real partnership with TIF. And we have Director Pine here in the room who has something he would like to add.
Just if I could speak to Councillor Jang's point about restoring that lost funding, really, or that lost dollars. I want to acknowledge that when our TIF district expires at the end of FY '25, we're gonna see a pretty sizable, both accrued balance, if you will. It's not a major one, but a significant amount coming to the general fund. And then each year after that, the increased revenue to the general fund that was created really largely by the growth that the TIF investments allowed will be really supporting the general fund going forward. So I think you've got some pretty good fiscal years to look forward to down the road in terms of what has happened in the waterfront TIF in that regard.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Councillor Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think Director Pine had a good point, but at the same time, let's also think about that TIF is not coming back to waterfront anymore. And I think, how do we recover this $460,000? Not also forgetting nearly $7,000 maybe a year in TIF revenue. I think it's a little bit different. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but I also understand the point, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I am happy to make the motion as indicated on board document.
Excellent. Is there a second? Second.
I think that was a second from Councillor Hightower, Catherine.
Yes, so it was. Thank you. I thought it was an echo of my own voice.
Yes, you're on.
And I was like, wow, that's a really weird echo. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Hightower. I didn't even see you on here. Okay, great. This remote, this hybrid meeting management without the mayor here and managing all the things. Wow, okay. Bumping up against my capacity. All right, friends, but that's good. We only have one more item to go. Thank you. Wait, did we vote on that? We did not. Item 6.03, resolution of waterfront tax increment finance. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And we got Councillor Hightower. Everyone is in. That motion passes. 6.04 is reclassification of 2 clerk treasurer positions. I'm happy to speak to that. I also have my good friend Tim here from HR. These 2 positions are part of our ongoing reorganization. You'll recall several months ago, we reclassified a current position into an operations director. And these are 2 positions that are kind of coming up underneath that position. And this is really in an effort to do 2 things. One is to really strengthen our customer service at the front desk of the clerk treasurer's office. But also we're utilizing those associates to also do some of our back end paperwork with the accounts receivable team. So people are less kind of stymied or sideload into one job area. So we have some good cross training going on. And also those of you who remember Amy Bovey in the position of associate city clerk before Sarah, she did both elections and oversaw all of the customer service function. As things have become more complicated with elections, both with mail-in elections and ranked choice voting, it's not realistic for one person to handle all of that. So we kind of needed to split those functions to allow Sarah and her team to really focus on elections and not all of the day-to-day work at the front desk. That might be more than you needed to know, but I'm happy to answer questions. And obviously this is something I feel really passionately about. Any questions or motion? Yes, President Paul.
Thanks. I'll make the motion as indicated on board docs.
Thank you so much. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Counselor McGee. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Excellent.
this is just a question. Do we adjourn? Do we need a
I
motion?
feel, I'm like, wow, as soon as I asked for that, I was like, Moreau just adjourned, so I'm just gonna adjourn us at 5:40, but thank you for your motion, Counselor McGee.